a big thanks to everyone who is joining us for the first webinar of 2025. This morning we are joined by another international guest, Amanda Stichter from Virtual Vision, which is based in Wisconsin in the States. Amanda will be chatting to us and uncovering the secrets of utilizing websites and how to turn those clicks into customers. Amanda does have a brief presentation she will chat through, and she is more than happy for viewers to reach out directly to her following the webinar. If you would like to introduce yourself, Amanda, and it's all yours. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I suppose I should say good morning. It is currently evening for me, so it's Thursday for you guys though, right?
That is
Yes.
correct. Thursday
Okay.
morning,
I
9
had to
a.m.
think
I had
about
to
that.
think.
So happy tomorrow for you guys. In my time zone. But I am so honored to be here, just presenting to you guys. Want to talk a little bit today about just the power that a website can have when we talk about restoration and really making sure that you are reaching the right customers. And with that, I'll give a little bit of introduction about myself too. Um, so here's my fun little picture that we've got going here. I have people giggle when I use this screen anywhere else that I speak, specifically because it's not a super professional picture. And the reason I like to put that up here is because beyond, being here as your presenter today, um, this is also I'm a real person. And so I am the CEO here at Virtual Vision. I have been with our company for about 5 years and was made the CEO last fall. Um, I am someone who grew up in restoration. So this has been my day in and day out for a very long time. My dad owned a Service Master franchise. And so growing up, I remember asking him, what sort of job are you going to today? And hearing about water and fire and all these different things, both on the commercial and residential side growing up. I am a wife. I'm a mom. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and then am the mom to a sweet and rambunctious 10-year-old preteen. And then the final thing that I'll mention is that um, I am honored to be the host of a restoration podcast that's called the Building and Branding Podcast. My passion within restoration is in the marketing space and the branding space. And so we really dive deeper into some of the conversations on the podcast about what are the issues that are facing restoration today. And, really kind of not avoiding those hard topics. So I would invite you, just about to kick off season 3 here in a couple weeks. And so you can find information about that online. I want a quick note on your screen. On every slide that I'm going to use today on my presentation, you'll see a QR code right at the top of the presentation or in other places, depending on the imagery. But this is a really easy way that if you would want at any point today to get a copy of this presentation, you can just scan this QR code, um, put your information in, and then we'll get this over to you. My team and I will get it over to you after today's presentation. So, as I mentioned, I am the CEO here at Virtual Vision, and I want to start by just telling you a little bit about Virtual Vision, just to help you understand the perspective that I'm going to share today and where I'm getting the information from. So, first and foremost, Virtual Vision is a website design and internet marketing company that specifically targets the service-based industry as our primary customer base. And our goal really is to come alongside businesses to help them build a foundation for their digital marketing, generate leads, and grow through a marketing strategy. And we always like to put on here that our mission statement, which is we aspire to be the trusted liaison between the service-based industry and their customer, connecting the two in times of need to restore lives to a place of peace, with that gentle nod towards restoration. And just a quick overview of our services here, just so that you can see kind of, what we specialize in, and again, where I'm going to speak from specifically today. So, basic website development all the way up through fully managed digital marketing campaigns. And realistically, what sets us apart is we really aim to be a strategic partner for our customers rather than just kind of cut and dry strategies. We have some really unique formulas that we put into place for just very clear ROI with what we're working on with our customers. And so I'm super excited to share some of that with you today. So just want to give a high level overview quick of the webinar. And before I do that, I will mention, if you're joining live, there is a chat function. If you have any questions that come up along the way, feel free to pop those in the chat. And if we have some time at the end, hopefully I'll be able to address some of those. Otherwise, like Claire said, my information will be, later on in this presentation, but you can always reach me at amanda@virtualvision.net and ask any questions. If I can just be a resource to help educate you, that's what I'm passionate about and what I want to be able to do. So in today's webinar, high level, we are going to be talking about how Google evaluates websites and why a website is so important to a strong foundation online. And really, kind of the four major points that we're going to hit today are, first and foremost, why does your website matter? And then, what are the foundations for a high performing website? We'll talk about Google and how those updates relate to your website and why it's important to stay up to date with those things. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the ROI of a well-performing website. So I think it's important to know we have to start with the foundation of why a website is even important. Now, for anyone listening, I do not probably have to, you know, really hit hard on the fact that a website is incredibly important to your online presence. We live in a very technological age, a very digital age, where your website online kind of acts as a home base. The reality is there are so many more studies coming out there that first impressions with businesses, the majority of the time, happen online before they actually happen in person. And 9 times out of 10, your website is going to be the first place that someone has an interaction with you. Used to be where if someone wanted to get some information about a business, they had to pick up the phone and make that phone call. And your receptionist was the first person that set the tone for working with your company. Now, your website functions in that same way. Your first impression that someone gets from your website truly can make or break how they'll interact with you. And a recent statistic came out that 75% of people will judge your credibility based on your website design. If your website design does not speak to the professionalism that you want to provide, and doesn't show those capabilities, why would they expect that differently out of you? So ultimately, what it comes down to is that your website is your online business card. The best way, another great way to think about it is that your website is an employee that is working 24/7 for you, that doesn't take sick days, that doesn't need time off. It's 100% always there operating on your behalf. And a high performing website ultimately will lead to more leads, higher revenue, and just overall a much better recognition. So let's look at the foundations of a high performing website. The majority of you that are listening to this or watching now understand the structural importance that comes when you are within a home. The foundation when you're building a house is the piece that's going to make or break the longevity of a home moving forward. And whenever I talk with anyone about a website, I like to encourage them to think about your website in the same way that you think about the foundation of a home. If your website at its foundation is not set up to perform well and has, let's say cracks in it, like a foundation can have, everything that's built on top of that foundation with cracks may function for a period of time, but eventually will need attention to be fixed and to have a strong, standing, lasting ability. When a foundation, when a website is set up on a solid foundation, set up for compliance, no cracks in there that don't allow it to function fully, you have a much better potential of how things will perform on Google as we move forward. The reality is that a poorly structured website or a website with cracks in the foundation, quote unquote, confuses Google. It lowers your rankings and it loses your leads. Just like you wouldn't build a home on a weak foundation, you shouldn't build your marketing on a poorly constructed website. And the reason I say that is because there are just some things that need to be in place for a website to function properly. Most of the time when we look at a website, we're going to base it off of the visual aspect. How well does it work? Can I navigate through it? But from Google's side, when we're looking at a website, Google has very specific things, even in the back end of a site, that have to be in place for that website to function as it needs to and really kind of get the highest level of success that it can from Google. And so I want to walk you through quick just what some of those things look at. And when we work with customers, the first thing that I always do with them before we talk ongoing marketing strategy of any kind is looking at their website and doing an evaluation and a performance check on that and performance checks on Google to understand what's really happening on our foundation, or are there cracks in the foundation that could be inhibiting your growth moving forward. And these are some of the things that are really important to look at when we look at performance audits, and that function very heavily into a high performing website. So the first is your website structure and setup. As I mentioned, Google kind of has its own language, its own way that it needs to see things set up. When your website is set up correctly, Google can read and index your site. Uh, by way of explanation, indexing your site is Google has what they call little bots, and they send them to your website to basically digest all the information and then decide how you should show up on search. That's called indexing. If Google sends its bots to your website and the structure and setup of the back end of your site don't speak the proper language of Google's bots and are set up in accordance with that, Google cannot read and actually cannot fully index your website, which means a loss of searchability, a loss of showing up on search performance and results. Those are really important things. So the first question we always want to ask is, can Google read and index your site? If Google can't do that, it's like having a house with absolutely no blueprints. The next piece is looking at current Google performance, asking the question, where do you currently rank and why? So we're looking at, what is your traffic? What is your keyword rankings? What's your search visibility? What page of Google is your website showing up on based on specific keywords that we're looking at? We want to find out where there are opportunities for growth. And that's a big part of looking into these checks. The next piece of that is SEO, or search engine optimization, and content optimization. And the question we ask here is, are you missing critical ranking factors? Now, we'll talk a little bit more about this in just a couple slides, but there are some very crucial SEO, search engine optimization elements that need to be a part of your website. And if we're missing those pieces, not only can that result in more cracks in your foundation, but it's also like missing the support beams in a home that keep everything standing strong for your rankings and your ongoing performance. And then finally, one of the big things we look at is mobile responsiveness. Can your device or can your website function between multiple device sizes? And how fast is it actually loading? Just straight to the point, slow websites lose leads. If I go to a website and I'm in urgent need of an assistance in a situation, I always say in our area of the country, we have a lot of basements. And so we often use the phrase, if someone is standing in 6 inches of water in their basement and they need to get a hold of someone now and they go to your website and it doesn't load, they're probably not going to continue standing in water to wait for your website to load to call you. So it's important that it loads quickly and encourages them to take the right action. 70% of users search on mobile sites. So if your website isn't mobile friendly and responsive and loading quickly, a user is going to leave. They will bounce off your website. So these are big things that we look at when we understand where are things currently at with the foundation of your website. Do you have cracks or are you set up for success and the strategies just need to be put into place? But you can't look at the strategies until you look at the foundation. So here's just, I wanted to give a visual representation of a site that performs very well with customers that we use or that we work for. And this is a high performing website design. This is for Buffalo Restoration. They're located here in the US. Visually, it's very appealing, but also it's got all of these pieces that are a part of it as well. It's SEO optimized. It's compliant with Google's current algorithm. It has a great user experience, fast loading time, and bigger conversions because it was set up for success on the foundation of what needs to be there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about one major factor as it comes to website performance is Google's current algorithm. I often say my team and I work with Google all day, day in, day out. And while I love Google, I also really kind of don't love Google. It makes me want to pull my hair out and gives me lots of gray hair because it is not an easy journey. So let me tell you a little bit about what happens with Google. So generally, I like to throw out the question, how many updates do you think that Google rolls out per year? Claire, you want to give me a guess?
Oh, definitely. I think I was about to say high thousands, but then I think that's even shorter than what it would be. Millions, millions, billions.
If you count, sorry, I put you on the spot there.
No, that's all
If you
right.
count probably all of the little changes, it probably is upwards of, millions. The major search updates that happen, Google releases about 4,400 updates per year, which I think the last time I did the math, I should have done this beforehand, but that's like several a day. And so 9 times out of 10, you're not going to notice some of these updates that happen, but 2 to 3 times a year, Google releases what are called core algorithm updates. And these really change major pieces or major updates to the way that a website is searchable and how it ranks online and all those details. So how it used to be, the reason I note this is because in 2022, Google rolled out one of its its largest algorithm updates to date called the Helpful Content Update. That was in 2022 that happened. Prior to that, websites were mostly ranked on, did they have the keywords in them and the right things embedded into the background of the sites, but your content wasn't as highly evaluated. Like it made a difference, but as long as you had your keywords in there, you were generally pretty set. It was pretty straightforward. However, In 2022, Google rolled out the helpful content update, and that essentially flipped the search world on its head. So, when it rolled this out, rather than just prioritizing keywords, what it did was it prioritized the experience of users reading through and navigating the content on your website. So, more than just keywords being present on your website, now we needed user focused content that really drove users through it, not content that just was stuffed full of keywords that someone might search, but instead something that they actually care about. The easiest way to ask that question of your content is my content on my website answering the question that my visitor will have? If the answer is no, it's probably not compliant with Google's helpful content update. And when they switched this major algorithm update on its head, they changed the way search has been. I mean, everyone was scrambling. Every marketing agency was scrambling because also, of course, Google does not tell you when they're rolling out these updates. But it really changed the way that search priorities took place. And so, as we look at search priorities, even today in 2025, we are about to see, generally in March or towards the end of it, is when Google's first core algorithm update each year comes out. And so, we are probably just a couple weeks away from that happening. Again, we have no idea what they're going to choose to focus on. The last couple of years have been very focused on continuing with this helpful content update, continuing to expand upon that. But when we ended 2024, the search priorities that were in place were what you see here on the screen. So the first thing was continuing to prioritize core web vitals. These are part of the performance scores that we look at when we audit a website. They are performance scores that Google gives you specifically based on, are you following their best practices? Is your website set up for user experience as it relates to accessibility compliance, screen reader compliance, mobile performance, and then basic SEO setups? So these scores play a very hefty chunk into when we look at a site, where do we need to improve these items? The next piece is the search generative experience, or SGE. So Google is now, like I said, prioritizing websites that provide very clear, well-structured content for their users. And why this is especially important now is because of the AI integration as it relates to SEO. So, sites with proper schema markup, which is like backend language of the website and structured data, they rank better because Google's bots know how to read it. How these actually interplay is if you've gone onto Google and searched for a question, rather than a normal Google search listing showing up on your first spot, they now have what they call position 0. So position 1 used to be the thing that everyone strived for, ranking number 1 in Google. Now, ranking number 1 is technically obsolete. Search Engine Journal, it's a great resource, but they released an article a few weeks ago that said that position number 1 is essentially obsolete now because position 0 is the focus. And what this is AI taking all the information from Google about the question that you're asking, and position 0 is a summary from various websites of answers to your question. So, not even prioritizing a specific website, but prioritizing giving you an answer before you go anywhere else. And so this all plays very heavily into how a website is structured and built upon. So why does that even matter? If you are a company who relies on other companies, B2B, or business to consumer, residential, or other consumers searching for you online, they're starting online. But if your website is not optimized, you are not going to show up in Google in a place where a user would see you. You might show up on page 10, but most people don't get past the first 2 to 3 pages of Google search results if you're lucky. So if you are not on search, as hard as it sounds, you're not visible to your potential clients. Trust and credibility truly do start online. So if you aren't showing up in search results or your website looks outdated, potential customers may never even contact you. All right, so let's then take that information into based on current Google performance and current Google algorithms. What are the things that need to be a part of a high performing website to make sure that you do have a solid foundation in place? These are 100% non negotiables that have to be a part of a website design. So the first one are clear call to actions, or as we like to call them on our team and in the development world, CTAs. These are the things that tell every visitor on every page, usually in multiple spots, what they should do next. So they've landed on your website. Now what? Do we want them to call you? Do they need to fill out a form, schedule a consultation? Do they want to get a quote? These are the things that tell people what to do when they get to your website. They want to make it easy for visitors to contact you and then take that next step. Websites that don't have clear call to actions, although it would seem logical to land on a website and then say, oh, I need to reach out to them. If visually it's not noticeable to me as the user, I won't consciously make that choice. What we want to do is encourage them subconsciously to do it without thinking. The second piece are of non-negotiable for a website is local search engine, local SEO optimization. I know that sounds like a double piece here, but search engine optimization involves not only your website, but also lots of various details that come with kind of local searchability, local search areas. So, beyond just making sure that your website is coded correctly for your search area, you also want to couple that with your website and showing up in a Google business profile and local search. What are the areas in your specific market that we can capitalize on to make sure that you are showing up correctly there? These are like local business listings or citations in addition to Google Business Profile, and then proper keyword usage in helpful content on your website to make sure you're showing up well for local searches. The third thing that is a non negotiable is high quality content and project galleries. Now, first of all, as we've already talked about, I can't stress enough the importance of high quality content on your website. No, going to ChatGPT and asking it to generate your content for you does not qualify as high quality content. Is it good and can it be helpful? 100%. As a rabbit trail, don't be afraid of AI. It's a useful tool for you that can definitely help you, but you want to have it help you in a way that's also useful for you. And asking it to handle everything is not going to be the way to go. So, you want to have a healthy balance between saying, hey, let's generate some good content, but then we also need that human touch to it to make sure it's compliant with what Google wants to see for your content. And then when we talk about project galleries on websites, obviously it goes without saying, but a huge part of a website's importance is the visual aspect. So your website should show before and afters. It should showcase your work and the capabilities that you have as a company. If you can do both residential and commercial work, we should be showing that on your website. We also want to highlight things like customer testimonials, expertise, things that allow you to show, certifications, associations, things that make you experts in your area. I will not try to beat a dead horse too much, but I can't say how important it is to have personalized project photos. Yes, stock photos can cut it, but only to an extent. The next piece is security and technical SEO. First and foremost, Google favors secure, well structured websites. I think we've all had the experience where we try to go to a page and it like gives us a big warning on our screen and says, "Do you want to continue? This website is not secure." Google won't prioritize your websites that have those. So, first and foremost, we want to make sure there's security in place and that there's not broken links. Again, if you're lacking the security or broken links, things like that on your website, it just weakens everything else, including that foundation. So, you want to have mobile friendly designs, proper structures that impact rankings and sets it up for long term success. And then the fifth piece of this is fast load speed and mobile optimization. It sounds intense, but lots of studies have shown that if your site takes longer than 3 seconds to fully load, users will leave, which costs you leads and potential sales. I said it before and I'll say it again. Slow websites lose customers, and you have to make sure that that is optimized. All right, so then let's talk a little bit about the ROI of a high performing website. So when we've had, as I've mentioned, we've been working with, we've been in business since 1997, but for the past 15 years specifically, we've been focused on restoration and home service businesses. And we have seen companies who have come to us with an older, outdated website, and just by updating it to current algorithms with Google, current compliance, we have seen their leads increase by 200% or more. It is amazing what an updated structure can do for your visibility online. Our clients that have structured, mobile friendly websites rank higher and they close more deals. And I want to give you this quick case study. So, in the US, we have a Kentucky based restoration company that we work with. They came to us last summer and said, "Hey, we're struggling with visibility. We're not showing up." You can see on August 1st, we worked with them and implemented a brand new website that was now Google compliant, both with structure, visibility, accessibility, SEO. And within a month, they went from less than 55 leads per month coming in up to over 100 leads coming in. And this is just a case study from when we looked at it last fall at the end of this year to show really that major jump. But they have continued to grow with local SEO focused best practices alongside the implementation of the current algorithm on their website. The other thing that I want to talk about with your website and just mention with the ROI is that more than just, visually getting users, your website, as I mentioned, is your number one sales tool. It's your number one employee that's always working for you. And when it's set up correctly, it is working for you 24/7 to bring in leads, even when you're sleeping. And if it's not generating calls or inquiries, it's really not doing its job in the way that it's supposed to. Yes, there will be quiet seasons, but your website should always be bringing in something for you, whether that's traffic. It takes time to convert these. And I always like to mention when I talk to people too, when we work with customers and bring them in, I can never guarantee the results of what Google will actually do with a website. If I could control the results that Google or search engines would put out there, I would probably be the richest person in the world. But we don't know. Instead, what we can guarantee someone is that our team specifically follows all the updates and algorithms that are happening within Google, and we set the websites up for success so that you have the best opportunity possible for Google to then, rank your website higher. And when your website is slow or traffic is going down, those are the times that it's important to ask those questions. Is my website functioning in the way that I need it to? And it's important to note that. All right. So I'm getting close to the end of my presentation, and I don't want to beat a dead horse again, but I think it's so important to note that truly your website is the foundation for your success online. In fact, just today I was speaking with someone who said, listen, we get plenty of leads through word of mouth. I have a website. So what? It's outdated. I'm not getting leads through that. But then we went to the searchability and the performance of the website and looked it up, and you could see the slow decline from the time Google put in those algorithm updates, that they're just slowly pushing the brakes because it's no longer a compliant website. A strong foundation on your website equals more leads, more business, and more revenue. And I think I'll just end by saying this. As I mentioned, I have this QR code here. If you're watching this or listening to this live, you can scan this QR code, and essentially what it'll do is offer you the opportunity to book a call where we'll jump on and evaluate your website's foundation. We'll give you those reports saying, hey, here's the areas of opportunity. And I always tell people, if at the end of the day you get a report and you want to take it to the current company that you're working with, fantastic. If my job in that is partnering with you just to educate you on areas that we can improve that foundation, then I've done what I came out to do. But if there are areas that we can assist you, then we want to be able to do that too. And so if you are interested, you can contact here, and there's some specials in place for booking it off of this webinar. So again, if your foundation is weak for your website, everything else on top of it will eventually crumble. If it's strong, you can outperform your competitors, rank higher on Google, and win more leads. And that's why it's so incredibly important to set your website up for success. So with that, I don't think we have any questions in the chat. If anyone has anything, you can certainly hop on and enter something in. I'll just reiterate quick again, my contact information that you can reach out to me at. So my contact information, virtualvision.com is where you can reach us. Phone number, +1 for the US, 715-803-6181. And then my direct email, amanda@virtualvision.net. You can grab any of that, reach out, and I would be honored to assist in any way that I can. So with
Thanks,
that, Claire, I
Amanda.
guess I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. It's great. Yeah, it's definitely great to get the insights on how businesses can optimize their websites, and not only that, but attract visitors and convert them into customers as well. I guess there's a lot to learn if you aren't fully clued up on this type of thing. And I have no doubt that it's quite complex. So it's definitely good to get those insights. I'm sure our audience has taken away some actionable steps to enhance their presence, hopefully.
Yeah.
I
And
also
I will
pull my
add
hair out
to,
with Google.
right?
Also. Yeah,
It's the nature of the beast.
correct.
And I do
Yeah.
think too, it is a big learning curve. I always tell business owners, you probably didn't get into running a business to also have to learn Google or marketing. And so that's why we always tell people, like, we want to be a partner with you. You know how to run your business best, and you're the expert at that. We can be your experts in the marketing world. So again, even if that's just, hey, I have a question, can I pick your brain about this? Yes, 100%. I think it's important to just have those people you can bounce questions off of, or an open mind, and continue to educate yourself on it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I myself have even been trying to learn a little bit of SEO recently.
Nice. That's great.
It's interesting. You wouldn't think everything that's included in the background, but there you go. It's always good to
It's so
learn
true.
more skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll get there, but
Well,
um,
best of luck to you. I know you'll do great. Keep
thank you.
learning.
Yeah, so perfect for anyone who's joined us today or anybody who does watch this recording after it is posted. Any follow-up questions, reach out to yourself. But other than that, we'll let you guys start your evening now. Thank you so much. Unless there's anything else you have or anything else at all, yeah, we'll let you go and say thank you and say good night.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you everyone for listening, and
Thank
thanks for
you.
having me.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Bye.